Hi, welcome to the coaching game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and look who's my guest or my
Oh,
co-host, really.
co-host Terry Yoffe here. Happy March. Wow. I
Yeah,
think we were just saying Happy New Year. And
yeah,
here
just
we
trying to get
are
used to
into March.
2023, and it's March
Gosh,
today. My goodness, but
my goodness, you're right.
that's
So,
the
my
good thing.
dear.
Not much, not much. We decided that we were talking about, some challenges we might be having with some of our clients. And we said, hey, this could make a good show if we talk about some of that. So that's what we thought that's what we would do today. Because I noticed that a couple of the challenges I mentioned to Terry, they're kind of my challenges too. So it's like, oh, well, let's figure this out on air. Why not? So one, if you're game, Terry, let's go, right?
I'm game for talking about challenges. I
Yes.
think that, you know, we all have challenges, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest challenges is around change.
Mm.
I just did a cell phone video from my quote with General Eric Shinseki. If you don't like change, you're going to hate irrelevance even more. And I think that people have a hard time with change,
Definitely. Definitely.
and it's change itself. Actually, my guest for April, one of my podcast guests, will be talking about our relationship with change.
Mm.
And today's landscape requires change is a constant. It's there. And if you aren't willing to change, you will become irrelevant.
Definitely, that sounds like yeah, I don't know how on a personal level, but definitely in the technological world, in the career world, in the business world, it's hard to keep up, but at least you have to be open to expanding your horizons, as they say, because it's just constant now. You can't say, no, this is the way I've always done it. Doesn't
But,
work. Just doesn't work.
but that also comes into play about our own changes,
Mm.
right? Changing our way of thinking. If something isn't working, you have to change your mindset.
Mhm.
Is it a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset? Are you flexible or are you inflexible? Are you willing to adapt or aren't you? How are you communicating? If you're not willing to change how you communicate, then you won't get your ideas across. It's change, outer and inner.
Mm.
And so much today is about, of course, VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's not only the business landscape, change is everywhere, economically, culturally, climate wise, every corner that you touch, there is change taking place.
Well, let's take that a little further. Yes, you're absolutely right, and that's the theme of my radio show: change your perspective, change your world. It's just that simple. But let's say in 2021 and 2022, Bitcoin was the change. You got to get Bitcoin. And somebody told me, like, no, I don't, because I like to really see my money and I like to be able to move it around and do what I have to do. And sure enough, that was a change that wasn't wise. So I think part of change is evaluating what's true to your values, what's going to most benefit you, and it's okay not to change also. Yes, I understand your point about irrelevancy, and manipulating through the fast-paced world that we live in. But I think there are some things that perhaps are more value related. And when you change them, I'm not saying they can't be changed. I'm just saying they need to be evaluated a little bit more to say, is this really a wise move?
I'm not talking about things that could be fleeting, like Bitcoins, right?
But couldn't everything be fleeting? If you're talking change is right around the corner and change is
Well,
coming, and
I
isn't everything
think
fleeting?
I think that changing with the times, changing perhaps on, I guess it's all relevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
On change, a way of doing things, let's say in the business world, if people are moving this way and you're not,
Right.
then you have to probably move with where things are going, versus not. I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there probably are some exceptions,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that, when you look at something like climate change, right,
Yes.
or you look at economic change, but I think personally, to grow and to develop and to shift a mindset, that has to come with change.
Definitely. That's
So
definitely a goal of
that's,
mine.
I think it can be misperceived.
Mhm.
So
Sure. And I think, I don't think well, as coaches, we never say anything's good or bad. So I don't think we would say that change is good and not changing is bad or vice versa. It's just interesting how complex it sounds like, change is the way to go, but how complex it can be. And so I think, and once again, as coaches, we have to meet our clients wherever they are. And, they may be resisting change or they may be regretting change, and you just got to sort of meet them where they are. And the same with our personal selves. It's like how long that was one of the topics we talked about. It's like, when do you call quits? It's like when do you go, boy, I really want to run that marathon, but you keep falling out at mile one or something. When do you call quits on that? It's just it's not as easy as bingo change.
well,
Not that
if you're looking at something like a marathon, let's
Mhm.
just use that. People have idealistic dreams. Gee, wouldn't it be great to run the marathon?
Yes.
And it's a dream. It's idealistic, but it's never really going to happen.
Right. Right.
So and they don't put the real work in, and they get to mile one, or they start, it's in November, the marathon, so they start in September. Well, they're not going to get to where they need to go. It's,
Right.
So yes, there are the dreamers, and they're idealistic, but in reality, it's nothing more than a dream. It's nothing more than pie in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you work with a client? Somebody that might want to be, I want to be a singer. I want to get up on a stage and sing. Well, they're never going to be a singer. So to really have them look at what is behind that, what is it they really yearn for? Maybe it's the accolades and the acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
So how can they find that in another venue?
I was just gonna say, as coaches again, sometimes we're certainly not saying don't dream. It's like, no, dream all you can, but maybe modifying your dreams to current situations, and that's kind of what Terry's saying. It's like, okay, maybe you can't run the marathon. What can you do? Can you walk a mile? Can you, increase that to 3 miles? Whatever. Or can you get one of those step counters, which I have that drives me crazy, and increase
Right.
that every day?
Yeah. And maybe it was never about the marathon.
Right.
Maybe it was about somebody acknowledging them and saying, oh my gosh, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's trying to get underneath what's really going on with them if things are not really attainable.
Yeah.
Um,
Or realistic,
or
or
realistic,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. But it's also looking at if you have a fixed mindset and you're stuck in that perspective, you're not going to go very far versus opening your lens and developing a growth mindset for whatever it is you need to do or want to do. When
Mhm.
you're more flexible, when you're more adaptable, you're able to do more and see more.
Yeah, expanding your horizons
Well,
again.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
change.
Yes, yes, definitely.
So, you know, is change about going from a size 60 to a size 2? No.
Change.
Yes, you're right. But, you know, it comes in all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Um, we live in a very different world today. And, depending on where you are in your corner of the world, right? And how you engage in that corner of the world, not in the whole world, but in that corner of the world. How are you changing to fit into that corner? What are your aspirations? What are your whatever? And yes, when you look at the Bitcoin world, which you talked about, there were those people that said, or a Bernie Madoff, right?
Yeah,
People that jumped on that bandwagon and got hurt.
yeah.
So I think there's also a buyer beware in certain things.
Well, again, we're back to realistic. It's
Right,
like somebody
exactly.
tells you I can turn this $100 into millions within weeks. I think you got to be a little realistic,
Right,
a little
right. But
skeptical.
I think it's about changing where you are, and it's not about wanting to live in a comfort zone, which we all, I have long-term COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's playing havoc with my life. Truly, it is. Honestly, if I could crawl into bed and be there and pull the cover over my head, I would be very happy. Except every day I push myself to get to be here, right? To do a podcast, to coach clients, to do my cell phone videos, to be on social media for my brand, for my podcasts. It takes a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in my comfort zone, but I don't. I force myself to get up and get out. It takes every bit of energy. I'm not sitting here asking anyone to feel sorry for me. I'm making a point that we can get up, get dressed, and show up. Or we can lay in bed with milk and cookies, which I would love to do.
And it's okay to do that.
It is, and I do it in the evening.
Yeah. Well, you know,
So
to quote a person that I'm not that fond of, Woody Allen, 80% of life is just showing up.
exactly,
Yeah, the rest, the 20%, I guess that's the part where you kind of
you
take it
know,
a little bit further and everything, but just show up. That's the hard
right,
part.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I get it. And I'm not ready to be irrelevant. I'm not.
Well, I
But
don't think
that's
anyone's going to ask you to be good.
no,
I'm
but
glad you're
that's
not,
what
though.
would happen.
Yeah.
That's what would happen.
Yeah.
So we all make a choice, right? It comes down to choice and the consequences that go with the choices we choose to make. And I work with clients on that all the
Yeah.
time, with choice, with change, as I'm sure you do.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to, choice.
Does. But you know what? Let's talk about what prevents clients from, or what makes them hesitant for change. I think we both know that the answer is fear.
That's
Fear,
exactly right.
you know,
They're, you
and
know, they're used to what they're used to. It doesn't matter that it's not working. It's what they're used to.
like you said, comfort zone. It's like, okay, this may be awful, but I'm comfortable. I know how to deal with it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're asking them to go to battle with their mind because the mind has set something up. And now you're asking them to make a change in their thinking. And that takes work. And it takes uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many acronyms for fear. The only one I can really remember is false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And so with my clients, I think, you know, I definitely acknowledge their fear because it's as real as can be with them, you know, then they're not
Right.
putting it on. But it's like then we have to start challenging. How true is that? You know, what assumptions are you making? How is that limiting your belief? And you just have to expand that gently, 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 because fears are like you said, wouldn't we all like to be in bed with cookies and milk? Yes. But and for someone to go, no, I want to be uncomfortable, it takes a lot of courage to do that. So you got to walk with them, and you got to you know, sort of clear the path and go, okay, here's a road and here's a road, and things like that. But it's that fear will get in the way every time, almost every time. It'll just jump up.
And yeah, and it's, and that's it. It's fear. It's
Hmm.
fear of the unknown. They know the known, even though
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable, even though it doesn't work,
right.
they know it.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
helping them walk through, my line is get comfortable being uncomfortable
yeah, yeah.
because we're living in an uncomfortable landscape
Every
right
day.
now.
Yeah, and
It
it just
is.
seems to, I don't know, I really am questioning, is it just because we're in New York City? But the news is like appalling.
Oh,
It's like, oh my goodness. I understand why people just say, nope, turning it off. Not gonna
I honestly, I don't watch the news.
really, I gotta
I
stop.
rarely watch it. I get the paper, so I flip through. I
Mhm.
read, I mean, on, the social media. I have to
Yeah.
kind of know what's going on, so I get tidbits, but I do not watch the news. I do not want to know. all the ins and outs of what's happening. Call me dumb, call me uninformed.
Call you peaceful and calm. Yeah.
Well, I'm not quite that, but
It's
I don't
somewhere.
read all of the news is not pleasant.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
So
I think another challenge is to change the viewpoint. It's like, okay, yeah, boy, this is a big problem, It's like, oh my God, how else can you view it? What are the opportunities here? And I know we've all heard parables about you don't learn from success, you learn from failures. So, but it's like, so what lessons can you learn? What can you do? I like to go with my clients and go, well, if you had to do it over, what would you do differently? And then they kind of have a solution for the next time, hopefully, if they remember. But at least they've got a little blueprint or start of a blueprint to just go, you know what? I don't like the way this turned. I don't like the way I reacted. Here's what I would do next time. And that facilitates change. So it makes it
right,
easier
right,
the next time you
exactly.
get it done. Yeah.
Right. You do. You have a roadmap. You did something you didn't like. Well, now you have something to say,
Exactly. Yeah.
this didn't work out so well. I know what I would do differently.
Yeah.
And most of the time, what they do is a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they usually do the first go round, and not the
React
second.
rather than respond.
Right,
So, and
exactly.
that's what you do as a coach too. Teach them how to respond. Forget
Hmm.
about reacting. We can all like get angry and say things that we don't want to say and we can't take back. How do you respond? How do you respond?
Right,
So
exactly.
hopefully it's a win-win, but at least you don't lose, So
Right, right.
yeah. There are so many elements to change. What do you have any like deal breakers when you are coaching clients? I mean, do you have clients that it's like, no, I don't think we're not a good match. We're just not a good match. Or it's like, no, I got to cut this off here because this is out of my realm. Do you have any deal breakers or anything like that when you're coaching?
I've only had one client a long time ago where I knew it was not going to work out,
Mm,
where I got very nervous that she could have been somebody that could have tried to sue me or something.
wow.
It's a long, long, long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And I walked away. Um, Other than that, no, I've never had somebody that I've I think I had one, she walked away, which was fine, but I have not really had any.
There's a few instances. When I was a new fledgling client,
Oh,
and one of my first clients, that's just like, now what do you do? One of
right.
my first clients just really wanted me to tell her what to do. And then
Yeah,
I had just been ingrained with the thought that you don't tell your clients what to do. You help them figure out what's
right,
best for them. Um, and she just would get so angry. And I say, well, just tell me what to do. And I go, I'll tell you what I could do, but I can't tell you what you can do.
right,
And she ended up leaving after I think the third session, and she had one more. I'll still be glad to return her money. I offered to do that at the time because she just wasn't that she wanted a consultant, and I had no idea what the I was trying to be a coach. So that would I learned that in the beginning. I learned to clarify that right up front. It's like,
mm-hmm.
here's the bargain we're making. And so that was what I consider a major failure in the beginning, but I did learn to be more forthcoming and just set the boundaries before it got started. So that would be one. Another is if I'm working with someone and it's an extended period of time, oh, I hate to do this, but it's true. It's true. And all I hear is whining and complaining and
Yeah,
oh, what if, if but, I mean, yeah, but I don't think the person's ready for a coach. I think you have to be a little bit aware that you're going to have to be, like you say, be uncomfortable, and you're going to have to try to grow a little, or at least articulate. And I just cut it off. I just go, nah, we're just not a good fit right now. And I could recommend you to someone else, or I could, whatever.
right, right.
So those are just my deal breakers. But and maybe it's a little prejudice, but I think
No,
rather than waste a
mm-mm.
person's time,
Right, right. I get it.
yeah, you have to consider all that. So,
I I have a guy that I've worked with. I used to work with him. We stopped. We've been working for years together. And I offer advice in a broad sense,
mm, mm,
so where I coach him, but we kind of blend a little bit together, which is fine. Um, and it helps him. So it's a very different relationship. I think each client, I think coaching has become a much broader term of how you work with a client, and what the parameters are and what they're looking for. They're not looking for just a question and answer relationship.
right. That's so good. Of course, I offer advice now too. I mean, I feel much more comfortable doing it. But it's so interesting. I don't know if you checked it out, but ICF NYC is offering a course or a webinar on, I think, on the 15th or something like that, where coaching the gray area. How do you bring coaching into consulting, and how do you bring consulting into coaching? And it's finally time that they address that. It can't be so straightforward. It's like, no, we're not allowed to tell them anything. When I was younger and was told that, I was really trying to follow the rules, but it's now they're calling it the gray area.
You're
And
right, right.
so it's cool that you brought that up. Do check ICFNYCchapter.org. I think that's the website. I'm not
Hmm.
sure. And see, because I know it's coming up in
Next week.
March. Yeah, and next time. We are like almost
Oh,
out of
wow.
time. I know it goes
Well,
quickly.
this has been fun.
It has. We're kind of like we're extending our personal conversations. What do you do when, So now we've
Well,
shared it with you. So Terry, I wish you a long COVID for sure, and I will look forward to talking to you
you will. We will
next
talk
month.
soon.
It's always fun.
It's always fun. Take care, my dear. Be well.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.